switch back to one of my questions here, because also on the ballot in November will be referendums concerning casino gaming. And I'd like to know how each of you is planning to vote on the issue of expanding casino gaming in Rhode Island, and why you might be for or against, and how far this might go. I mean, there are some proposals that I realize this particular thing is not on the ballot, but some people wonder where this is all leading us to. There were proposals to bring gaming facilities into Quonset Point, which is just down the street from us. So we'll start with Mr. Giarrusso. Your thoughts on casino gaming and the initiative on the ballot.
Well, I'm against casino gambling in the neighborhoods that they're in right now. You know, the place for a casino is exactly where they were back in the day. You know, Las Vegas, the Bahamas, Monaco, Atlantic City, like destination places. And when you go into these places like Foxwoods and Mohegan Sun and wherever else they are, you see people there spending their kids' milk money. So I'm totally against it. And now another thing that we could add to this is that Mohegan Sun and Foxwoods, they're laying off. So how much money are we going to dump into infrastructure for this proposal, just to not let it be a big a big hit for the state's economy? You know, a friend of mine was in Atlantic City last week on business. He called me. He said he couldn't believe it. It was a ghost town. You know, Trump Towers, Taj Mahal. You can throw darts in there and not hit anybody. That's how bad it is. So to that, I'm against it.
Okay, let's go to Dr. Schwager for your thoughts on the gaming initiative and possible expansion of it.
Well, gaming is not a substitute for economic development policy. But we're in a situation in this state where gaming revenue is now the third leading source of revenue to run our state. You have income tax, sales tax, and then gambling revenues. So if we lose that revenue quickly, we will have approximately a $300 to $350 million hole in our budget. That's money that goes for education, that's money that goes for infrastructure, that's money that goes for healthcare. And until we are able to wean ourselves from gambling revenues, to allow Massachusetts to draw that revenue stream from us, is very, very hazardous. And I would ask my opponent how he is going to fill a potential $350 million shortfall in revenue should we lose that business to Massachusetts and other gambling competitors.
Let me get Mr. McDonough's views on the gaming here, and if you gentlemen want to debate a little bit on this and come back, because he called you out, Mr. Giarrusso, we'll let you respond. But let's hear from Mr. McDonough first.
My response is the horse is already out of the barn on the issue of gambling, my friends, and we have, as Mark mentioned, a major dilemma. We have Massachusetts opening up 4 casinos, I believe they've been approved for, or 3 casinos and then a casino or whatever. But we have to pass bond referendum 1 and 2, which is there's 0 revenue demands on those bonds. It's simply an approval by the voters of the state, and then both communities, Lincoln and Newport, have to likewise approve that at a local level to do that same expansion. So it's too late for us to get, I guess, ethical or moral about the topic of gambling, because I understand your concern about it, but it's too late because of the reasons that Mark explained. It's a situation where we are now dependent upon that income for our state, and unless there was some remedy to replace that, which I would certainly support, but we don't have the luxury now of not moving forward with that expansion.
We have a clear distinction here between 2 candidates and the other, so if you'd like to respond, go ahead and mix it up, guys.
Well, you know, really, the one thing I can say, the main reason is 85% of the same party that's been ruling the state since 1956. So it's been one voice. We just completely turned our heads to economic development. You know, we have so many problems to start a business here and to run a business here. Regulations, utilities, it's out of control. So now what are we doing? We're selling our souls to the devil. Let's get a casino. I mean, what's next? A brothel? I mean, where do we draw the line? I mean, it's a moral thing.
Okay. Gentlemen, any other thoughts? Mark?
I'm waiting to hear your proposal for making up that revenue, that $350 million revenue.
Economic development, let's start trying to get some business in here. You can't do it today, but you know, the problem with the casino and the gambling, it's just bad money. The moment that people, you know, don't have money to spend anymore, then that's it, you just shut that down.
I agree with you, but the economic development we need to transition from gaming dependence to economic development, but we're looking over a period of years. And that revenue right now is a stream that we depend on, and this is something that's up to the voters. So the voters will decide whether they approve of this.
No, I agree. I agree it's up to the voters, but you know, it's the same people making these decisions that are making decisions to tax a dog groomer. It's no big deal for a dog groomer in East Greenwich or Warwick because you're in the middle of the state. But what about the dog groomer in Warren or Bristol or in Forster that they could just go to the other state? You know, we're losing our way. And we need to do something about that. Maybe it's the state Republican Party needs to start recruiting better people. Get some business people that understand the difference between a king-size sheet and a balance sheet.
Well, I mean, the gambling legislation moved forward under Republican governors. I mean, Lincoln Almond was a bit of a firewall, but after Almond left office, it sailed through on a bipartisan support. So I don't see this as a party issue. This is something that's been supported by a Republican governor, bipartisan legislation, and I don't think it's a desirable economic development, but it's, as Kevin said, it's here, and we need to deal with it, and we need to come up with alternative revenues. And I'm all for the economic development, but that is going to be no magic wand on that. That's going to be a process over time.
Mr. McDonough, since you haven't spoken, any other last words on this issue? We'll give you the last word.
I just think it's a good thing they got the independent between these two, because the last thing the State House needs is a lot of throwing of stones at the others, and I think we need some common sense at the State House, and that's what I hope to bring, that we can hopefully not rewrite history and re-argue history, but move forward. That's what I'm trying to do.
All right, thank you. Let's move on to a question from the patch readers, and this one was asked multiple times, and I even got people emailing me to ask about it. And I want to talk about the thoughts about consolidating the fire district with the town of East Greenwich, and you know, maybe in general terms, whether we should have standalone fire districts anymore. I spent a lot of time in the last 2 weeks in Central Coventry with the fire district that is now in receivership. And you know, this brings up the issue of consolidating services and having Rhode Island Fire Department rather than all these little hodgepodge of fire departments around the state. So we'll start with Mark Schwager and your thoughts about the fire district consolidation.
Well, I've served on both the town council and I'm presently a fire commissioner, so I've sat in both seats, and we have attempted to do consolidation between the two departments. It's been going on for a number of years. Your tax bill now is a consolidated bill by the fire department and the municipality. We are now doing joint payroll and information technology. We hired a mechanic in common. And for people who weren't aware, we had a town meeting a few weeks ago to discuss the issue in a public forum. And what I stated at that time was I felt that the complexity of government is going to force the district and the municipality together. Government has become, for better or worse, so complex as far as healthcare costs, labor negotiations, human resources, information technology, that for a small municipality to have two separate governments, a small town to have two separate governments, just is not going to work going forward. So I've supported consolidation in the past. I do support continued consolidation. I would support the referendum to bring the fire district into the town. This is something that will occur over time, and I believe that the district will have an opportunity to transition into a larger government, which I think will be more effective and put our town in a better position in the future to respond to the challenges that are going to be facing small municipalities like East Greenwich.
Mr. McDonough.
First, I want to commend Mark for taking the time to be part of that study and that group. And the 90-page report that they drafted, I read a good part of that. I enjoyed the detail that was put into that. One question I have is that this referendum is a non-binding referendum, and I don't really understand why that is, that we're making the effort to go to the people, but only then to ask the town council to make the ultimate decision. If I'm able to ask the candidate why that was, do we have a reason on that?
Well, I don't know if you want Mr. Giarrusso to
Sure,
respond
go ahead.
first, or...
No, go ahead and exchange. We'll get to Mr. Giarrusso.
This was a resolution that was proposed by the town council, so I can't give you the detail on that. I think it would be very difficult to actually construct a binding resolution, because the voters of East Greenwich cannot unilaterally bind a merger of these two independent municipalities. That has to be done by enabling legislation at the state level. I think the intent was that if the voters expressed their wish that they are the constituency of the fire district, and the fire district has to take into account the wishes of its constituency. So if that was the overwhelming desire, that would continue the conversation and continue the momentum toward bringing the two departments together.
And with that clarification, I would simply say this, that if the voters of East Greenwich give that authority to the town council, and the town council does act as your representative, I would vote to support that decision.
Okay, Mr. Giarrusso, your turn.
Well, it's really, the question is, it probably worked back in the 1700s when John Adams was inaugurated. That's what I learned last week going to the meeting. And, and they are doing a great job. There's no question about it. I mean, I think our services are very good. But as a businessman, I'm all for consolidation. I mean, you need accountability. And why not put it all at the top? I mean, the fire chief is not going to be losing his job. I mean, it's not going to be anything like that. It's just that it's going to be under the jurisdiction of the town council, which in my opinion makes perfect sense. So it's really, because if we needed a fire commission, then why wouldn't we have a police commission or a public works commission? It seems like it's time to put it all under one roof, and I would support the legislation if I was to be elected to this seat.